When you come at my company, you come at me.
So, everything started with KSI, Logan Paul, and MrBeast, three of the biggest creators on the whole planet who together created Lunchly, marketed as a quote-unquote healthier alternative to Lunchables. It was supposed to be a quick win with an audience of kids who'd beg their parents for anything with their favorite YouTuber's face on. It was going to be a quick success, right? Well, a big no. Because it didn't take long for cracks, well, mold actually to show in the shiny facade. Complaints started rolling in, reviews weren't great either, and oh yeah, mold. Actual, visible mold in a lot of the packs. So, DanTDM, aka the Minecraft legend, and one of the most universally loved creators on the platform, was one of the first people who called them out on this. Dan on Twitter called it out on what it was, selling to kids who don't know better than to trust the people who are selling it to them. And coming from a guy who's practically a both parents and kids' favorite YouTube mascot, that tweet hit really hard. It was a much-needed reality check for all three co-founders, and our hero, also known as KSI, did not handle it well, but we'll get into that. For now, just know that Dan's tweet wasn't just another drop in the ocean, it was the rock that started every thing. KSI. Being KSI, of course, didn't take Dan's tweet lightly. In his true fashion, he fired back on everything. YouTube, bam, Twitter, bam, and more bam. His defense was accusing Dan of hypocrisy by digging up old receipts of his past promotion of a snack box called Munch Pack. And wait, KSI said, well, you promoted snacks too, so you can't criticize mine. Which didn't really do Munch Pack wasn't claiming to be anything revolutionary. It was just a basic box of snacks and that's it. But hey, when everyone is calling out your you do whatever you can to bark back to them. Am I right, folks? Now, it's just a beginning. Later on, reports started pouring in about moldy cheese found in Lunchly packs. Not just a one-off complaint either. We're talking multiple instances. And then, another you to the co-founders came from a YouTuber, Rosanna Pansino, who is basically the Martha Stewart of YouTube. Baking posted a video showing her Lunchly pizza kit with blue mold growing on the cheese, and it not being past its expiration date made it a lot worse. Now, Rosanna Pansino is actually someone people listen to. She has the reputation on being wholesome, reliable, and honest, so if she's showing moldy cheese on camera, you can bet that's not something anyone's brushing off as a one-time mistake. And instead of addressing the actual problem, KSI was just attacking any and every person who would call him out on. And another you came from the FDA, which received tons of complaints about the product, with one case even causing making the customer sick. Now, my dude, that's really up. That's no longer an oopsie daisy. It's an actual problem that you gotta deal with. But of course, KSI didn't back down and didn't give up. Instead of addressing anything, or at least apologizing, which are the bare minimums, he doubled down on social media, attacking DanTDM even more. It was like a kid losing his favorite toy. Now back to DanTDM. On a podcast with several YouTubers, Dan casually mentioned the drama, saying he thinks it's funnier to not engage with the whole situation. And he wasn't really wrong. Dan refusing bite back only made KSI's attempts to drag him into the mud look even more pathetic than it already was. While the internet was busy enjoying the drama, Logan and KSI decided to address, or not really address, the issue on a podcast, and instead of offering any sort of apology, Logan even joked, "I like my cheese moldy, bro."
My cheese is drippy, bruh! What is your cheese? Drippy!
Well, now I'm pretty sure nobody is jealous of his PR team. Here's the thing, when your products become dangerous to people, joking about it isn't the best way out. This wasn't some minor oopsie in branding, and the podcast, well, wasn't the best way out. But the problem wasn't just Logan's poor choice of words, it was everything during the entire conversation. Throughout the podcast, both of them seemed to treat the problem like an inconvenience to their brand, rather than a serious issue that needs to be dealt with. It was dismissive as like they believed their names were too big for this controversy to stick. But the internet, being the internet, did not let it slide. The joke became another talking point in the scandal, spreading across Twitter, Reddit, and TikTok like crazy. Clips from the podcast started circulating, with one user sharing it with the caption, "This isn't the flex they think it is." And those weren't wrong. While Logan was cracking moldy cheese jokes and KSI was busy losing his MrBeast, aka YouTube's golden boy, decided to handle it differently. Instead of involving himself in the drama, he addressed the controversy in an interview with YouTuber called Oompaville. He said, "There is no mold when it leaves our factory," which basically means that every product undergoes necessary inspections and quality checks before leaving the factory. Basically, his argument was, "Hey, we did our part, it must have gone wrong somewhere else." And fair point, I guess. He went on to explain that issues like broken seals, poor refrigeration during transport, or improper storage could be the the real culprits behind the mold situation. And you know what? That's a valid argument. Food products can absolutely get compromised during shipping. But, and it's a big but, when your product has your face slapped all over it and parents are spending their hard-earned money because they trust your name, you're still on the hook for how it's handled every step of the way. Okay, I'll be fair and say that MrBeast's response was probably the most professional out of the 3 co-founders. He didn't joke around like some douchebag like Logan or throw a tantrum like a kid on Twitter like KSI. Instead, Jimmy did what Jimmy does best. He was the calm, collected businessman, or at least pretended to be one good enough. He sat down, explained his side of the story, and said his side of the story. The product leaves our factory inspected, approved, and mold-free. If mold happens, it's during shipping or storage. And honestly, that's a pretty reasonable explanation, I guess. It's like really hard to argue with logic when someone's not screaming on your face like a Karen to minimum wage employees at McDonald's. But here's a fun fact about the internet. It doesn't wait around for logical explanations. By the time MrBeast opened his mouth, other two f***ed up everything, and the damage was done. The pics of moldy that they named Lunchly packs were all over Twitter. TikTok was flooded with people making unpacking videos of moldy cheese. And the jokes. Oh, the jokes were just amazing. People started thinking less like, is this a real issue? And more like, who thought this was a good idea in the first place? At that point, Jimmy's calm explanation didn't really stick, which made things even worse. And now it makes me wonder, when influencers slap their names and faces on products, how much accountability should they actually have when the hits the fan? Like, yeah, Jimmy doesn't personally control every step of the supply chain or whatever. He's not in the warehouse inspecting every cheese slice under a microscope like a crazy scientist. But the funny thing about branding is when parents walk into a store and see MrBeast, KSI, and Logan Paul's names plastered across bright snack boxes. They're not thinking about refrigeration trucks or broken seals or this or that. They're trusting those names, believing they wouldn't want to harm their fans. That's the thing with influencer brands. Your product is not the brand, you are. And when that trust cracks, it doesn't matter if it was the truck driver, the factory, or the store clerk who the faces on the box are the ones held accountable for it. And MrBeast knows this. He's built his empire on being the internet's wholesome golden boy. So while his explanation was calm, logical, and about as good as you could expect under the circumstances, it was still just fine. Nothing groundbreaking, and it was definitely the bare minimum. And honestly, I don't think this should have been the bar for when it comes to selling food to kids. This isn't some merch hoodie with a bad zipper. Kids eat this stuff. If there's even a chance it could make someone sick, the people behind it should be bending over backward to fix it, not screaming at us like a kid and saying like, well, it wasn't our fault. Yes, KSI, I'm talking about you. But hey, at least MrBeast gave an answer that felt like a halfway decent attempt at explaining things. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't groundbreaking, but it wasn't an embarrassment either. And compared to Logan cracking mold jokes and KSI's attacks on DanTDM, yeah, Jimmy came out looking like a diplomat type. Bare minimum effort for sure. But compared to the other two, it might as well have been a TED Talk or something. But anyways, let me know in the comments what you think. And if more things come up, I'll definitely update you. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content like this. Peace out and see you in the next video.